Oh, there we go. Now everything should be going the way it should be, I think. Let me check this. Hopefully. There we go. Maybe that's working. All right. Let me move this right here so I don't get feedback. All right. Greetings and salutations, everyone. Welcome back to the Inn of Planar Crossroads. Hopefully you liked our new intro type of starting soon scroll. That should be beneficial for people. Everybody listed on that, as far as their names, are people that are supporting the Inn of Planar Crossroads in a financial way, and some not financial, some more than just financial, and that is much appreciated. We all I really appreciate that, and am thankful for them, not just as that, but as friends and commenters and stuff like that. All right, mushy stuff out of the way. As far as announcements, before we get in, I don't think there's a whole lot to announce this time. We're still trying to get to our $100 of support a month, and once we do, we'll be able to shift things around a little bit and change up the way we are handling our time allotments and what projects we're working on first. So, if you want to see more projects, the only way to get that is to support some more. That's just how it is. I can only do so much at one time as one person. I think, you see, we just entered Apocalypse for those watching our Around the Hearths. Hopefully you like some apocalyptic type of gaming every now and then, because that's what this theme is for this month. Yeah, I think that's pretty much it. I'll be doing some collaborations in person, Lord willing, with Avenue Studios later this month, so keep an eye out on their channel for that. But otherwise, I think we're up to date. So let's go ahead and get into first we're going to read. Usually I try to do a recap of last session before we read, but this time I'm going to do it now. Also, let me know how the sound is. I'm trying out a different little thing that I have, a little audio controller that I got. It's just a cheap one, but I'm thinking I might be able to control things a bit more with that than just having other things, but just having the digital one, but maybe not. Let me know. Let's go ahead and do the episode 4 flavor text on the story part, because that's going to be important for us to understand the recap. So let's go do that. Episode 4, Death Under Glass. Crossing the hot sand between the high, mostly thin mesas was thirsty work. Unfortunately for them, Maximilian's studies in magic may have gotten him the knowledge necessary to cast some powerful spells, but it hadn't presented much in the way of finding water in an arid environment. Wilhelm, being used to firm earth under his large hooves, also had a difficult time on these marches. Devereaux attempted to do some flight-based scouting in the Nighthawk form, but the harsh, haunting winds and sandstorms prevented much success in this endeavor. Through all this struggle, Hildegard rose to the occasion. Undoubtedly, it was only through her sustaining prayers that the group was able to continue on and conserve their supplies as best they could. This took a heavy toll on her, however, and after having fallen asleep, I should say, on guard duty, she was almost dragged off to a fate worse than death by the masses of skeletons of past adventurers. This was the group's first encounter with the infamous voice in the desert, but it would not be the last. So that's that. Now, as far as what that means, where that came from, that is from their challenge rolls. So with Adventure Academia, every time we start the game, we roll initiative to get it out of the way in case anything happens, and even if it doesn't, that sets a sequence of who goes first when talking type of situation. We decide what each person does first in any given situation, even if it's a social encounter. So we roll initiative first before the game starts, before the game story stuff starts. Then we do the challenge event. And these are the roles and how they affected the challenge event. So that's why I wanted to go ahead and read this first. So Maximilian failed their exploration role, basically, is what it was. Their challenge event to get across these desert dunes and such. These desert dunes and the huge mesas of stone. And he failed his. They said they wanted to find water with his learning. So they tried learning. It failed. They tried a fortitude, I think it was. Maybe a might roll with Wilhelm. That didn't work either, unfortunately. Didn't hit the DC. And then they tried to fly with Devereaux and scout out some stuff. That also failed. So they had 3 failures and only 1 success, and Hildegard succeeded. But she succeeded really, really well. So I did success with a twist on it, which is one of the things that you can do in open legend that's suggested for doing an open legend, where there is a success, but there's a problem. And so then we roll the dice to see who the bad thing would happen to. Because I thought in that instant, okay, someone's going to get attacked while everybody else was resting. And it fell on Hildegard, who did the best. So that's how that's how the dice built out the story of Hildegard being the one that fell asleep and was attacked in her sleep. So that is how that came about. And I think that worked out really well because everybody is starting to like Hildegard because Hildegard's keeping everybody alive. Everybody is starting to recognize that. Because the younger kids, they're like, they don't necessarily get it, but I'm only doing 1 class and they have a larger amount. So it is, they have a larger amount of experience and they have a larger appreciation for somebody keeping them alive, the healer. If the healer goes down, everybody goes down type of situation. So that is something that they are liking. And they felt sorry that Hildegard was the one going down, that she was the one that was not particularly targeted with this. So she fell asleep during guard duty and almost got dragged away. And the way I described it, it's spooky stuff because I described it as at the edge of the firelight, these eyes and this and when they put out more light during that night, there was this undulating mass of skeletons and shriveled body bones and stuff like that, just all on the edge, and they're creeping in on that firelight, trying to drag away Hildegard. And so it was appropriately thematic. And I think they got a kick out of that. Like, ooh. So that was fun. And that is how last session went. They started a fight and got a lot of... They made 1 round through, I think, because we do causality. Even in small events, we do causality. So good and bad stuff would happen. One of the things that was good that happened, they got a good causality event on their favor. And they got a bad one too, so Hildegard almost got taken away. But they got a good one in that they yanked her back, and when Devereaux, I think did it with the Starweaver spider's web whip. He whipped her back, pulled her back, and it threw one of the bodies onto these nasty undead bodies onto the fire, and so it burst further into flame, and it flamed out, and that's where they got to see this undulating mass of bones and shriveled bodies and stuff like that coming in towards them. So that was the spooky bit. Let's go ahead and get into the encounter part. I don't like these to be too terribly long for y'all. We've been streaming for about 15 minutes, about 13 minutes. So we should be able to get to the encounter part, and then I can talk about what I'm intending to do this next time. So, encounter. After that first near fatal encounter with the spectral speaker, the group took more care in both their travels and their watches. While the living dead things were there every night, they did not always attack. They eschewed any illumination, and especially Hildegard's holy light. Everyone was everyone was also thankful to discover that where that to discover they were also quite flammable, though the entire creature had to be burned to ash to stop it. Eventually, the ground the dragon slayers were traveling on began changing. As the volcanic lair of Rexus came closer into their view, the storms and winds became less prevalent, and the fine sands began to mix with dark glass. The attacks from the undead also began to taper off. Then the group came upon something they thought quite surreal. During a particularly overcast late afternoon, just as the group was getting ready for the evening's march, they heard a commotion near their camp. Peeking around out of their towering stone shelter, they saw a swarm of unliving, led by a particularly coherent one draped in cloth wrappings, in active conflict with the red dragon's minions. So, I'm setting them up with a situation here. What do they do? And that's going to be my question to them in this particular one. What are they going to do? You've got the undead here who've been kind of harrying you this whole time, but not overly aggressive in the sense that like every night they're coming at you. And they're fighting the kobolds, who you know are evil, and they do come at you all the time. They're relentless. So, what are you going to do? If there's a coherent undead leading this set of apparently mindless undead, what are you going to do? Are you going to attack both? Are you going to attack both into both and try to get some kind of advantage or some kind of spring attack on and ambush on both of them? Or are you going to start attacking the kobolds and see what the undead do, or start attacking the undead and see what the kobolds do, or what? Because this is going to set something up for in the future, depending on how they interact with it and how they decide to work through this. So this undead, and this will come out in the next one. We'll know more about the undead and how this plays out. But they're going to be going out of the wastes this next time and infiltrating stuff. So I do want to go ahead and kind of put out here for those that are watching for some behind the scenes stuff that the wastes of Khafash are, for those of you that know where this started up, you might get this, but for those that don't, in the realm of Atar is named after Atari, but I kind of played with a bunch of stuff. I took a lot of loose inspiration from the first adventure game on the Atari called Adventure. And in it, there's the 3 dragons, there's a whole bunch of stuff, but there's this bat, this mischievous bat, that can fly back and forth across all the maps, and it can either take something from you, or you can lock it away if you capture it with a certain item. So my idea with that and how this plays out is that Khafash is actually a vampire lord, and he runs the wastes. The wastes are his. No one can really touch him in the wastes, and he goes all across Atar. And I want to bring in, I'm hoping this comes up, I want to bring in the harpies that the kids saw in the first one. I want to weave that in to where if they not make buddies, but don't directly attack the undead first, if they go after the kobolds first, that the undead won't attack them. And then Khafash will come and say something about having visited his harpies in the eastern mountains, and that'll be something that comes back from the eastern mountains. And the kids were all about, or at the end of the last one, at the end of the first one, with Grum, the second with Grum. I described some wings fluttering off into the distance after at the end, and they tied that back to the harpy. What they don't know is that it was Kosh coming to see the harpies for information and mischief, and he ended up finding them not there, finding them slain by the dragon slayers. And so this is an interesting weaving of different stories together. The second season basically weaving with fourth season. So I hope that comes up. If not, it's just in the back of my mind for when this becomes a larger adventure path for people to use and play with. I think that's everything for tonight. For today. I don't have a lot else to add. We're at about 20 minutes. So hopefully you guys had a good time. Hopefully it was something you could enjoy and take with you. I'm pretty sure that, let me see. Yeah, I shouldn't have an interruption when we get done with putting these out. I shouldn't have an interruption with getting the last one out because I think I even did that up there last time too, up at Adventure at Avenue Studios, because that's where I'll be probably, if my math is correct, when that goes on. So you should get a live just like normal, no interruption in schedule. I think that's everything. So hopefully the kids enjoy. Hopefully you'd enjoy. And if you'd like to support this, you can do that by going to the iopc.com. And when you do, you can find all of our different links to the different things that we connect with, whether that's our social media or our support options. As always, have a great day. God bless and enjoy. Bye.